You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. What up, mi gente? Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we have an amazing guest. He's like a boss of comics in the UK. But before we do that, let me introduce my big EIC from the UK, host of Outside the Panels, the big man himself. I mean, so many more shows. The one, the only, the machine, Johnny Hughes. What's up, kiddo? How you doing?
So I'm not the guest? Is that what?
Oh, no, You're not. You're gonna co-pilot with me today. I know.
Okay.
You heard UK. He's like, no. We're talking about a big time boss. Like, he's been rocking the UK scene. I mean, he's a writer that's been kicking ass since 2007, even before that. But he's also the face of Time Bomb Comics. Let me introduce the one, the only Steve Tanner. Hey, what up, kiddo? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for inviting me onto the show. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming on. Look at that jacket, Johnny. Whoa. Is that how you go to cons, bro? Yeah, bro. I want to dress up. I like to dress up too, man, when I go to cons with these bright joints. So I dig it.
We don't need any more horror pictures of you in cosplay. No angel interceptors here. Thank you very much.
I sent him a Leia picture once. He gets upset. I don't know.
That's where you put the hair buttons. That was the issue.
Hey, back in the day, I had longer hair. Sorry, the bald spots didn't work.
Wait, what?
Oh man! So Steve, again, thanks for hanging out with us. I obviously can see this is the madness of a comic quiz, and it's all fun. But thank you for what you do. First off, being that legend in the UK, going back in Flintlock, where people know about you. So. Flintlock, I mean. So talk about that a bit, your journey. So, did you grow up in the UK?
Oh yeah. I actually grew up in a small village in South Wales, which is kind of quiet. And I moved out from there as soon as I could, basically. As soon as I could move out of there.
As soon as he can walk, he said, "Mommy, I'm out."
There's no love on that moisture farm. I'm out.
But I mean, the one. So I've kind of traveled around a bit. I've kind of worked abroad as well over the years. But the one thing that was always been a constant was my kind of my passion for comics. And I guess like most guys, it starts at quite an early age. So I mean, I always remember there being a comic in the house, even when I was really small. There was always a weekly comic that would be bought.
Who was the fan? Do you know who the fan was? Was it mommy, daddy, grandma?
Oh, I mean, I know it was mostly my mother, I think. My dad used to read the original Eagle comic in the 1950s.
Oh, man.
So he remembered that.
I know Eagle.
You know Eagle.
But my mum used to read a girl's comic called School Friend. Which again was back in the 50s, but because they always kind of bought comics. So originally I started off on the I guess the primary kind of titles, because in the UK back then they had like an abundance of weekly comics that were being produced.
Weekly comics.
Weekly comics was just the normal thing. I know it's still quite an unusual thing to have kind of weekly comics in the States, but it was. Comics were just produced week after week in the UK, and there were dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And so you would have the ones which was kind of like for really small children, which were really kind of relatively basic. And then you would have then three types of weekly comics. Then you would have the comics that were aimed at boys, which tended to kind of feature kind of war, adventure, sport. You would have the comics the weekly comics that were targeted for girls, which would be kind of mainly kind of adventure stories, featuring obviously kind of female characters. But then you would have the humor titles, which were both boys and girls, where you'd have the classics like you've got the Beano, which is still going, Dandy, and really kind of fondly remembered stuff from the UK like Buster, Monster Fun, Whoopee, Whizzer and Chips. There was so many.
I was going to say Whizzer and Chips.
So
I
mean,
never heard of Wizard and Chips. That's new.
Yeah,
to me.
it was like two comics in one. It was kind of like there was Wizard was on the outside, and then inside, halfway through, there was like Chips, which was like another comic inside, which you could, if you wanted to, you could pull out. So you would have two comics.
I would not pull that out though. I really take one of those.
And it was always done as like a bit of rivalry, because you were either a whiz kid or you were a chipite. You were one of the two, and so that was really fostered in the way they used to market the comic.
So what were you?
I was definitely a chipite.
What about you, Johnny?
I was Beano. I was Beano all the way. But this what Steve's talking about, this is the precursor to why Marvel at the time started doing all their reprints black and white as weekly books. And you never, I mean, we'd read, I remember getting X-Men books and stuff, but you get like 4 pages and then something else. Every British comic at the time was anthologized.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Where 2000 AD came from, of course, back in the 70s when they matured up and coalesced.
Yeah.
But talking books like Roy of the Rovers, Commando, Mitzi, all these like great titles that from yesteryear, definitely.
So it was all so I can't. That's what I grew up with. So you kind of grew, and as you kind of grew up, you kind of graduated to the different kind of styles of comics as well. I remember seeing an advert on TV. This would have been around about 1975.
Oh wow! I was born then. I'm sorry, not the age you were. Oh shit! I was born. I thought Johnny was the oldest.
It's for a comic called Battle Picture Weekly, and I'd never seen a comic advertised on TV before. But so I saw this thing, Battle Picture Weekly, brand new, and I remember that was the first comic which I specifically asked for, as opposed to kind of comics being kind of bought for me. So then it was kind of like Battle Picture Weekly. Then you went on to Action Comic. Then you went on to 2000 AD and Star-Lord. And then suddenly I was 11, 12 years old. The Marvel reprints had started kind of pushing themselves forward again. A guy called Des Skin, who was looking after the Marvel UK empire, he then did a really aggressive push with the Marvel UK titles, rebranding them. So I got kind of sucked into all that. And then by the time I was 13, 14, I discovered fandom. I was getting American comics. I was kind of subscribing to a really kind of famous fanzine at the time, which was called Fantasy Advertiser, which was like, you used to tell, it was, again, that was a monthly title. I think it was.
I gotta find this. Fantasy Advertiser.
Fantasy Advertiser, very famous fanzine. And to call it a fanzine doesn't really do it justice, because it was kind of like, I don't know, I guess like what Amazing Heroes was, but kind of before then. But all the people who kind of were really into comics at the time, and a lot of them who went on to become creators in their own right, they kind of were part of that community, Fantasy Advertiser. And from Fantasy Advertiser, then I found my way to comic conventions. And it's like, it's like a drug, isn't it? You start off with something really mild, and then before you know it, you're on crack cocaine down a back alley. And that's really...
Snorting Superman comics.
Right? Yeah, I need the next issue, son.
Variants, look at me, variants. It's all that, isn't it? Yeah, it's a slippery slope. Yeah. So by the time it was the 80s, late 80s, then that's when I actually realised that I knew that people were creating this stuff, and I wanted to be a part of it. And a big part of that was kind of because as I was kind of going through my kind of teenage years, which are the most influential years for anyone as they grow up, really. I mean, it was the time of Watchmen. It was the time of Dark Knight Returns. It was the time of Warrior in the UK. There was so much that's suddenly all been happening. Really kind of fantastic stuff. So that kind of really inspired me to kind of give it a go myself. So I ended up kind of pitching as you do blind. I sold my first stories to a magazine called Crisis, which was published alongside 2000 AD in the late 80s.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
I ended up then doing being commissioned to do a one shot for Tundra UK, which was the one which was done by Kevin Eastman. So that was really my kind of lead into the whole kind of comics thing. And then in the just as it came towards the late 80s, the early 90s, the implosion happened, and suddenly everything just, everything was flourishing, and then suddenly everything just kind of like fell in on itself. And it was the time of the Marvel went bankrupt, all that kind of stuff, so it became a quite tough time for comics. And by that time, I'd stopped creating comics myself, but I was still reading comics. I was still kind of buying comics and still following comics. But as a creator, I'd kind of put that to one side, because I guess real life had got in the way. And I was finding myself, I was kind of working here, I was working everywhere. I've spent a number of years working abroad. And even where I was working abroad, I still get comics. I still, my local comic shop in Cardiff, they would still keep my kind of comics for me. And every 6 months, I would get this huge,
a long box.
the wife would think they're the new washing machine being delivered every 6 months. And no, it's just comics. It's all right.
No, baby, this is research material.
Yeah. So I was out of it then. I mean, I was still very much into comics as a fan. I stopped being into comics as a creator. And then what changed? I went to a convention then in 2006 in Birmingham. Now, I wasn't living in Birmingham at the time. I was living in Leicester, but it was the first convention I'd been to for years. I'd used to attend.
So when you say years, how many years we talking? What's that gap?
Well, the last convention I'd been to was in the early mid-90s. And this was so a good 10, 12 years. I used to religiously go. There used to be just one convention in the UK. I'm sure Johnny will remember this as well, which is the UK Comic Art Convention, which is once a year, every September in London. And it was just the one event. And
I never went.
Never went.
Never went. I was I'm a mart guy. I like going to comic book marts. So I keep telling Al about these. These are kind of like big hotel rooms where people just sell shed loads of comics. Every time I go to a con, there's like one guy selling comic books. It really.
But that was the thing that I remember about it. So I used to every year I used to go to this one convention, and then because I was then in Mars, because I was working abroad, I just couldn't go to the last couple they did, but then they stopped. So by the late 90s, they'd completely stopped, and there was then no conventions. But then I went to this convention in 2006. It was the first one I'd been to for years, and I went there expecting it to be like how I remembered, and like what Johnny just said, this kind of mainly guys selling back issues with a couple of guys in beards selling comics themselves, which they've made, because it's beards and glasses and long hair, isn't it? That's the look. Yeah.
The typical comic guy. There we go. From the UK.
I'm wearing a sports jersey, for Christ's sakes.
So I went there to this show, and that's what I expected. But when I got there, I saw all these guys who would produce their own indie titles, and they were just astonishing. They were brilliant. They were so, the production values and the ideas behind them, they were so far removed from how I remembered people kind of creating their own indie comics in the 80s and 90s, which were at that time, they were still, for the most part, kind of really nicely photocopied. And, but you could kind of tell back in the day, if something had been kind of, I guess, home produced as opposed to being professionally produced, you could just tell. But suddenly it was different. You could put these titles, these comics I was looking at, into that. You could put them next to the comics that were being released that week on the shelf, and you couldn't tell the difference. And I ended up buying just an armful of all these books. It's a ridiculous. I came away with it just huge stack of just
that comic shop owner was so happy that day.
Yeah, this is the con. Yeah, but the thing is, as well as coming away with all those titles, I came away thinking I've got to come back to this convention next year, but I've got to be behind the table, and I've got to have a comic of my own there.
Cool.
I've got to do that. So that's what I did. So I spent the next year putting that first comic together. So in 2007, 1 year later, when I was back at that same convention, I was behind the table. I had my first comic on the table in front of me, and that's where it all started with Time Bomb. That was Time Bomb's first comic, and it's one of those things that at the time I was like, wow. In the benefit of hindsight, it was crap. The comic was crap. It was just awful. It was just, it was really nicely printed, but that's pretty much the nicest thing you could reasonably say about it now, But the thing is, it was the start, and the people that were at the convention, people still bought it. even though it was crap. And they were really nice about it, and they gave me some really good feedback. So right from the start, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, this works, because it's very much a case of me thinking, if I don't give it a go, I'll be forever one of those guys thinking, what if? And you never want to do that. You always want to try it. If it fails, well, fair enough, because noble failure is always better than not trying something at all. It always is. It doesn't, not just comics, it's with everything. Okay, so it was a case of, let's see what happens. And if it was a disaster, well, fair enough, but at least I've given it a shot. But it actually worked. And what was really nice about it, the people that I met at that first convention, a lot of them I still know now, and they were supportive at the time, which is great. And it's been, over the years, it's just become something a lot more than that little kind of really badly produced one-shot comic with really bad art, and it was lettered in Comic Sans, for Christ's sake.
You can't say
that's so bad.
You can't say it's really bad. That artist has probably gone on and done loads of cool stuff. He probably thinks, hey, look at me, I'm my first book. You just dissed it.
but the thing is, right from the start, there was that sense of community and suddenly becoming part of a community. Now, I don't know how it works in the States. I don't know if it's the same. I don't know, because obviously it's much bigger over there. But here, certainly in the UK, there is this sense there that there's all these creators, and they kind of, a lot of them know each other, and you'll see them regularly at cons and stuff, and you'll follow each other on social media. So there's this real community sense, even though essentially, you could distill it down and you're essentially competing with each other, because you got your comic on your table, and the guys got their comics on their table, and the punters who come into the convention, they're not going to buy the comics from every single table. More's the pity. So they're kind of your competitors, but it doesn't feel like that a lot of the time, because you have that big kind of sense of community, which is great. And what was great for me when I came in was getting so much free advice from people that was really, really useful, and allowed me to learn really, really quickly. And what's been kind of nice over the years, that now, 15 years later now, and now what I find is that I'm that person who's now giving the free advice, which is great. It's like that coming full circle thing. And what's been really cool as well is that very first convention where I went to and I was inspired, a lot of those, probably a good half of those guys that were behind the tables, are no longer doing comics. Some are no longer with us. Some of them have gone to the great beyond. But of the ones that are still around, they've become really good friends, to the point where I've been in a position where over the past few years, I'm publishing them. So they inspired me, but now it's gone around full, and I'm in the position where I've been able to publish them. And that's great to see as well. So it's that tapping into that whole sense of community, which I think one of the great things which I find about creating comics in the UK.
What I think Al sometimes misses out on, no disrespect to Al, is that the UK market is quite singular when it comes to comic books. You've got one player that's in all the shops all the time. It's not like you go into a comic like in the States where you've got Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image. In the UK,
plus Indie.
Plus Indie. But in the UK, you've got 2000 AD in the newsagents. That's it. That's the nut that Steve's trying to crack. The fact that Time Bomb are fantastic. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Kate Cunningham for her book. Great book, really good book. But it's not in the newsagents, and it needs to be, because that's how the British market works for a lot of people.
How do you break into newsagents, Steve? Is this something you're trying to do as well? Are you trying to break into newsagents?
We're kind of getting there. We had one of the titles we brought out is an anthology series called Brawler, which has been really well received. And we actually teamed up with a company called Get My Comics, who produce a magazine called Shift in the UK, which actually is in newsagents. And with them, they produced a Brawler special. which was then into newsagents, because one of the things about getting into newsagents in the UK, you got to jump through quite a bit of hoops. But because they were already there and established within them, they had some available slots which we could then kind of make use of. So they kind of, we worked with them to produce the broader special, and that went in stores. The exciting thing about that, about with the newsagent thing, is that Spectrum, which is the new Jerry Anderson one, that is going into newsagents.
Sweet. Absolutely.
That is going into newsagents. And
are you talking about this one?
This is the one, yes, the Spectrum one.
Look,
yes. So
look at that cover, guys. Hey, am I getting
this
in the States? Does that mean when you say newsagent, or this Johnny has to mail me one?
Barnes and Noble have kind of taken some, so I don't know if Barnes and Noble is over with you, isn't it?
Well, they closed the one over here. My daughter was depressed because she loves Barnes and Noble because she's a manga fan.
Okay.
So, she go to Barnes and Noble to pick up a manga. She doesn't like the comic shop, so you go there to whack. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, we found the cool one in Orlando that has a bar in it in the back room. It's a secret bar. So you buy your comics and then you go in the back. Oh my god, yeah, I know. You're going to the store buy more comics.
Is that because you have to be drunk to read some of the product?
Oh no. Oh, come on, bro. You don't understand the inventory. Johnny. I got to go to the shop, but the bar was closed. We went early to the mall that day. Just and my wife said you should check it out because I saw it last time. I found some great Conan, Savage Swords there, really on the cheap. They have a great back issue, but I just walked over to the back. And I was like, yo, it's a legit full bar and everything is superhero themed, every drink. I mean, obviously, I think the Iron Man will probably be the strongest. No disrespect to Tony Stark.
No, you got to drink a Hulk. That way you get smashed.
I've had the Hulk. I love the Incredible Hulk. That's Hennessy and Hypnotic.
He didn't get the joke.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, I'm talking about real drink though. Come on, Johnny. And wait till you come to the States. If we ever meet Johnny the Machine Hughes, is gonna be having an oil leak. All right.
So Spectrum will be going into newsagents, and it should be there within the next 2 weeks.
That's wonderful, man.
So I said it before the show. I am a huge Captain Scarlet fan.
Talk about this, kiddo.
And it's
teach me, Captain Scarlet.
So Jerry Anderson is the TV show that kids in the UK were brought up on. Whether it was Fireball XL5, whether it was Joe 90, which was a precursor to Dollhouse. You talk about Josh Whedon programming people to do stuff. Joe 90 did it first. Thunderbirds.
See, I know Thunderbird. That's where I know him from. Thunderbird. Yeah?
Then, of course, it takes a hiatus for a bit. It doesn't go. It slows down a bit, and then comes back with Terrorhawks, Space Precinct. These shows helped create a Space Precinct. Was a big draw for Sky TV when it first came out. Sky TV were all over it, like exclusive. But Captain Scarlet, Voice of the Mysterons, Captain Black, Captain Blue, who was useless.
So they're all color schemes over here.
Yeah, that's right. Because the group's called Spectrum, right?
Okay.
And in charge is Colonel White, and his mate's Lieutenant Green. All right. Then they have three jet fighters called Angel Interceptors. It's like Harmony, Destiny, and whichever the other one was, I can't remember. But then Captain Black goes to Mars and he ends up attacking and killing some Mysterons. And then the Mysterons have the ability to recreate themselves. So they recreate Captain Black as an agent for them, and then declare war on Earth. But they always tell you what's going on. So it's like, at the start of every show, it's, "This is the voice of the Mysterons. We know you can hear us, Earthmen." And then tells you what's going to happen, right? So then Spectrum, the law enforcement people, go and sort it out. Unfortunately, Captain Scarlet gets semi-killed by Captain Black, and he ends up getting half Mysterianized. So he has the power to come back from the dead as like the anti-Captain Black, and that's how the show works. Every start of the episode,
anti-Black, this sounds so crazy.
At the start of the episode, the Mysterons say we're going to do something, and then Spectrum run around like headless chickens for 30 minutes till Captain Scarlet gets killed, saving the day, and then everything's all hunky-dory. That's how it works, man.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right.
That's pretty much it, right?
That's pretty. Yeah, that covered it really well.
And Terrorhawks was this. Terrorhawks was this thing from the 80s, 90s, and it was Martian clones, Zelda and her son and her sister. They had these cuboid things that looked like X's on the side. Terrorhawks were ran by Professor Nine Stein, who was one of 9 clones. He had this phrase of
expect. I love this. It's going. I gotta take this stuff out, dude.
Expect the unexpected. And their robots were called Zeroids, like little round things. And the leader of those was Barry. I want to say Windsor Davies. Windsor Davies. There it was.
That's right, Windsor Davies. Yeah.
Yes, from some others do have from what's it called? 8.5 hot.
Yeah,
yeah. And at the end of the show, they do like a tic-tac-toe grid with the cuboids being the X and the zeroids being the 0, and you see who won. But again, lots of Jerry Anderson stuff in there. There was a fighter plane with a guy with a southern voice like Phones from Stingray. It's all interconnected somehow. No. So yeah, I mean, you might guess I'm a huge fan. So
yeah. So how did you land this title on Time Bomb? Because that's amazing. Based on who this person is.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool because they came to us, which was even better. We didn't have to kind of reach out.
Oh my God! Wait a minute! You almost made me choke on my beer, Steve. You telling me that this big IP reached out to big Mr. Tanner from Time Bomb and was like, "Yo, do you want to publish this?"
Well, they kind of pretty much. I mean, it was like about a year ago. It was last it was last March, April when they first initially reached out, and they basically kind of said, "Oh, would you be interested in doing something with some of the Jerry Anderson characters?"
Did you go? Did you go?
Think about it.
I've got to ask. Did you go FAB or SIG?
I went a bit of both once I'd calmed myself down a bit.
Explain
right. Okay. So SIG stands for Spectrum is Go or Spectrum is Green, depending
Spectrum is Green. Yes.
Yeah. Which I always found was odd considering they had a Lieutenant Green, but it's basically the call sign to say, yeah, right, like we're gonna go for it. And then Thunderbirds, it was FAB, like AOK instead of saying AOK, it was FAB. Yeah, I have no idea what FAB stood for.
I didn't say I can't remember what it is.
Fabulous.
Well, that's Lady P's car, man. Just don't go crazy. But yeah, it's like SIG. Yeah.
So we had that kind of. So they reached out to us, and obviously we said yes because just the characters alone, and the way it presented to us because there were so many Anderson shows that were done over the years by different TV companies, different production companies, the rights to all the various kind of concepts, it's just a spaghetti of who owns what and where. But Anderson Entertainment is the company that's currently run by Jamie Anderson, who is Jerry Anderson's son, because Jerry Anderson's no longer with us. So there are some concepts which Anderson Entertainment own outright. And they're the ones which we get to play with. So we've got Terrorhawks, we've got Space Precinct, we've got Captain Scarlet, but it's the new adventures of Captain Scarlet. It's not the original puppet show.
It's a cartoon.
It's actually the CGI series. Yeah.
I'm leaving now.
Wait. So there's a CGI series too. So
there's a CGI series, and to be honest, if you've never seen the CGI series, watch it.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah,
it's actually very good. It's much more fast paced than the puppet show because obviously there's things they just couldn't do. So you rarely actually saw any. You didn't have any fight scenes in the puppet shows because they couldn't do the puppet shows. But you'd see people pull guns and that kind of stuff and lead people around, and you'd see like the spaceships lifting off and taking that. But a lot of the fast paced stuff they couldn't do. But in the CGI series, you have that kind of it's much more fast paced. It's also what's interesting as well. It's more naturally diverse. So in the original, it was all basically white male puppets.
Lieutenant Green was African American.
Oh, was it? Yeah, but it was like
I was going to say Lieutenant Green was green, but no. Okay, thank you.
but now in the updated version, they've got female kind of captains and all. It's a much more kind of it just feels more.
Going off memory, I'm sure one of the angels was African American or Nigerian. I'm not sure if it was Destiny. One of the angels was was a person of color. I'm not sure what the nationality was at that stage, but yeah,
I can't remember. But those the ones that we have. So that's what we've used. And there's a couple of others as well, which they let us play with, but we haven't kind of revealed who they are yet, and we haven't announced what they are yet. But
go on.
No, come on.
This is the voice of the Nisserons. You will tell us who is your.
So, but no, but the thing is, just having those three kind of concepts, it's been great to kind of play with them. It's been brilliant. And I'll be perfectly honest, when it kind of came our way, and they kind of said, well, these are the concepts. I was completely selfish, and I said, "Oh, I'm writing Captain Scarlet." I mean, I didn't, I said, "I'm writing that one." I just wanted to
went like Daffy Duck. This is mine.
It was completely. I be completely open about that. I didn't ask for alternative pictures or nothing. I said, no, I'm doing this one.
I love that.
So that was from a creator level. That was a real buzz to actually be writing Captain Scarlet. It's been terrific.
When I was a kid, my if my dad was still around now, he'd be a geek. Right? So my dad got me into comic books, and every week we'd go to the local charity shops, and you buy annuals. Al, you don't have these like come out every year, Christmas time, special hardback things.
Oh, now hardback for me. No?
And there used to be one called TV 21.
Oh yeah.
And me and my brother used to go mad for these. We'd search everywhere, and you'd get one that was a Thunderbird special, or a Captain Scarlet, or a Stingray, and it was great because it was the text stories. Then there was a comic book in there as well, and they were just so. That to me made more sense than the Jerry Anderson puppet shows, because you're absolutely right. You watch Thunderbirds for an hour and you're like, God almighty, how long does it take this plane to take off? At least Stingray's done in half an hour.
It's just there like this the whole time.
Stingray's half an hour at least, and they've got a great theme song at the end, but hey ho. But you're in that situation, right? So these books, they absolutely, I remember searching high and low for them. We loved those books. So I'm looking forward to seeing Spectrum.
Yeah, man. So, Steve, man, how did you build the team? Who did you confide in to work with you on such an amazing project?
I mean, we've been lucky because over the years we've worked with a lot of different creators. So it was very much looking at kind of creators who I already had already had connections with, who then I felt would be a right fit for the stories. But also I knew, and this is really important, could actually deliver on time and to a specific kind of standard, because it was one of the things, because obviously it's a licensed kind of title.
So there's a lot of caveats to it.
Yeah. So one of the things with the licensed title, that you have to get every kind of stage sent off, approved, before you can move on to the next stage. So it can take longer than it can to pull together.
When we're talking about stages, what do you mean? Is it like a per page, per panel? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, all the every story, the story outline had to be approved.
Okay.
Then the script had to then be sent off for approval. Then the pencils had to be sent off, so right the way through the whole process. Yeah. And then the final kind of book itself, the format, the way it was presented, that had to be kind of sent off to approval. So what we had to do right at the very end was kind of produce 6 fully kind of bound copies, especially just for them to kind of to approve and sign off, because a lot of the time, as you know, with comics, you'll get a proof, and the proof might be an unbound proof, it may be a digital proof, but it's usually sufficient to kind of say, yeah, okay, that's fine, we can move forward. But for this, we had to kind of produce exact copies of what we're actually going to be received. So and each of those stages we have to send off, get approval, and then we can move on to the next stage. But it also then factored into things like, because we did a pre-order on Kickstarter, which is very successful, which is terrific. But because of that, or any extra artwork that we needed to create for the Kickstarter, which we could use as stretch goals or promote, all those separate pieces of art, they had to be individually approved as well.
Whoa!
So it was. I mean, and the thing is, going into the whole project, beyond the excitement of actually doing it and actually using the characters, the thing at the back of my mind was that I'd spoken to a number of creators over the years who'd done work for licensed properties, and they'd been caught up in an absolute nightmare of change this, change that, no, change this back again, a nightmare. But I have to say, the Anderson guys have been absolutely terrific to work with. They've been terrific. There was only one change in the end that was needed, which was a couple of panels. We used the model of the aircraft that we used in one of the panels was the wrong version. It's in the Captain Scarlet story. So it was the original Angel Interceptor that was used rather than the Falcon Interceptor, which they used in the CGI series. So that's the only thing they had to change. Luckily, it only affected one page, so it wasn't like this huge kind of like, we have to start again from scratch. But that was the only kind of thing all the way through that we had to kind of they said, oh no, you got to change this. Everything else they were terrific with.
I understand the likeness aspect from when it comes to the art, but for shows like Space Precinct and Terrorhawks, other than the original shows, there's not been anything thereafter. So is there still that level of, I want to say, tenacity over the intellectual property
and when does this take place too in the story of the character?
Because it's to do with as well because the concepts themselves are very kind of fondly remembered, and they're kind of they're legacy characters. It's also trying to make sure that the tone of the stories are consistent with the tone of the original series. So so the Space Precinct story, for example, if you look at the original series, it was basically a police procedural story. That's basically what it was. So it was keeping that kind of tone with the type of story it is. The Terrorhawks one could be more kind of outrageous, I suppose. If you look at the Terrorhawks, more wild, more outrageous. So it was maintaining that tone in the stories themselves. And what was really cool as well that Jamie Anderson, he had kind of like, he was certainly he had direct kind of involvement. So the initial kind of story pictures we were sending through, he was coming back and he was making suggestions based on what he knew about the characters as well. And some of that was really useful. He didn't come back with any suggestions and we thought, oh no, what a nightmare. Quite the opposite. He was like, oh yeah, cool, that's a cool idea. So it was really it was a real collaboration, and I think this is the thing what comics are all about. That's what why comics are magical, because it is a collaboration. And with this, it was that extra level of collaboration with the son of the guy who'd created all this stuff in the first place. And so it was great, but ultimately it was smooth. I think the only thing where, honestly, right towards the end, when I was starting to touch cloth, was when we had to send the 6 pre-printed versions off for full approval, and we also had our print deadline coming. So we knew we just knew we had to try and get that kind of approval signed off so we could kind of say, yeah, go ahead with the print run, because what we wanted to make sure that we had the books available to be sent out at the first week of June, but also we wanted to make sure that we were able to have some copies available at the MCM convention that took place this weekend just gone, which is probably the biggest biggest convention in the UK. So it was important we had some stuff for that.
Don't tell Thought Bubble.
But yeah, we managed to squeeze it down. But that was the only bit right towards the end. We thought, oh no, because we were just waiting for that approval, that final approval. So have you got those? So we arranged for those printed books to be couriered straight to the approval team, so we could get that approval as quickly as possible. But that was all part of the fun of it. You know what I mean? It's all part of the fun.
I'm still thinking about what else the properties could be, and I've got one in mind. I don't want to say it in case you've got a really bad poker face, so I'm not. I'll talk to you after the show about that.
Well, that's all right, but I'm fairly certain you won't guess what they are.
Really not? Oh, okay then. All right, fine. Is it Space 1999?
No.
See, I wanted a bit more Maya in my life. Who doesn't like Maya and Tony, for Christ's sake? Right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and that's the thing, you know, because I met Jamie Anderson on the weekend just gone. He was at the show. So the first time I'd met him face to face, apart from having email conversations.
Oh wow! Look at that. Post-COVID years where you could meet people.
Yeah. So it was good to kind of a chat with him about some of this stuff as well. And it is all to do with the rights are owned by here, there, and everywhere, and it's to try and unpick them all. It's a real kind of a job to unpick them all. But you never know. I mean, hopefully, you know, but you know, who knows? You know, if the rights holders of some of the other concepts get to see Spectrum and like what we've done with it, maybe there's potential there to do something with some of the other conceps, because
there you go.
You know, I mean, like, you mentioned Space 1999, but then UFO and you mentioned Joe 90. Their stuff, which is just, you know, brilliant to kind of be able to make use of if you could.
You know what? Because that would make Time Bomb so special too, because now you're representing.
What do you mean? Time Bomb is special, mate? What are you trying to say?
Oh, I know. I'm saying, no, I know it is, but I'm saying though. There we go. Omega doing it again. But what I'm saying
how
is,
to win friends and influence people.
To even like help me though understand those British comics via your brand, you know what I mean? Because you got fire stuff, but of course, you know, you guys are so nostalgic about this, and as an American, I'm kind of like lost. I was like, okay, I know Thunderbirds and everything else you're saying. I'm like, whoa, overdose on knowledge here. Like, I really need to see more Jerry Anderson. Apparently,
oh yeah, you do. I mean, and the thing is, it's kind of like, you know, watch them with kind of thinking of being mindful of the decades when they were produced.
Of course,
so I mean,
always.
You know,
I'm not one of those guys that want to try to cancel shit from back in the day. How dare you? Listen, that's a product of their time, so that's an example of growth. That's it. And if you don't appreciate that, then you know, and you try to cancel it, you know, I like to tell people middle finger salute when they don't want to listen.
Of course. But one of the nice things about Spectrum, because you know, it's just on the kind of the retro thing, the nostalgia thing, and that kind of, I mean, the other good fit as well, it fits in with the Time Bomb brand, because a lot of the kind of the original stuff we produce, people kind of find it has that kind of that retro nostalgic kind of tone about it, even though it's new kind of new content. A lot of the feedback we get about Time Bomb and the people what they like about the books we produce, it has that kind of, I guess, old school Britishness to it, which is really hard to explain unless I mean, Johnny will understand what I mean.
Oh, totally. The lettering on Kate Cunningham's book, it looks like a commando strip. So it feels exactly how you nailed it bang on the head there. It has that European look about it every time, definitely.
And that's not a bad thing, because I've seen things through at least Cinebook. That's kind of my experience. When you know, and that's how I've seen Beano and other stories. And I'm like, all right, I see oversized books, you know, panel usage, verbiage, you know, the lettering, everything is so different. It is, but it's also at the same time a pretty awesome experience for someone that is just tired of seeing the same old. So, you know, at least for me, this is new. So, you know, thank you both, because Johnny rattled off so much stuff, man. Outflex is about to get crazy, baby.
What can I say, man? This is me. This is what I had growing up. I mean, people whinge about Star Wars right now, about how, we want more Star Wars, and then when you get it, they complain about it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
When I was a kid, you had to wait years for Star Wars movies, and so things like Jerry Anderson and Space 999 and Thunderbirds and Stingray, they filled a massive hole in kids my age who just got into the whole sci-fi type of event. For me, I've got a lot of love for every Jerry Anderson project, every single one.
All right, Steve, man. So I know you can't tease on what else is you're gonna land, but outside of at least the Jerry Anderson stuff, then what does Time Bomb have planned? Any new stuff? Anything popping off? Any con appearances? We could give you a high five for your greatness.
we got loads going. I said this year's our 15th anniversary year. So
15 years. Salute, my brother. Happy birthday.
It's a big year for us this year. So September this year will actually be the 15-year point.
That's beautiful.
So we got 3 conventions lined up in September. So we wanted, including one in Birmingham, because we thought we kind of could.
Can you name them? Do you know which ones you got?
Yeah, it'll be ICE in Birmingham, which is organised by Shane Chebsey, who you're probably familiar with.
Yes,
we've got then there's a show that's being put together in Bristol by Tripwire. I think that's the first weekend.
Oh, Joe Meadows. Yeah, I know Joe. Yeah.
And then
I'm gonna talk to him next week.
Okay, cool. And then we've got the Glasgow Acme Comic Con in I think it's the 3rd week of September. So we got busy September.
Where's that one? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's in Scotland.
Yes, in Scotland. So it's Glasgow. Okay. So we started up this year.
So you can't go, Johnny?
I once dated a mad Scottish woman from Glasgow. She was mad. She was Scottish. She was from Glasgow. That's all I'm going to say. But
that means Johnny cannot return to Glasgow.
That means that Johnny cannot go to Glasgow.
They're gonna smell him in the air. Is that Mr. Hughes down the block? Wait a minute. I got words.
so we got that. So this year we've had 3 books out already this year. So we got another. Nice. We should be at least another. We're planning to get another 3 out before the end of the year. If we can squeeze out another one, we'll squeeze out another one. I mean, we had Rotten Under the Snow come out this year, which it's a really nice package. I think one of the nice things about that, I mean, I'm really pleased you liked it, Johnny. I really am. But one of the things that for me was really cool about that is that it's the first kind of major work from all the creators involved. And those creators came to us through our submissions portal. So we're the only comics company in the UK, apart from Rebellion, that has an open submissions policy in terms of comics. So all the others, we're the only ones apparently. So all these guys came together. We put them together. That's what I was told the other week in Portsmouth. It was just us in Rebellion. But,
you were in Portsmouth? That my boy, Port Hayden from ASAP Imagination was there, a publisher himself.
So we had that. We got Harker, which is our kind of crime series. So we've got another volume of that coming out late this year. We got Spectrum, of course, which has just come out. I got Flintlock Book 6. This is the next one to be coming out.
How many pages are these books?
The Flintlock books are 6. I think this next one is 68 pages.
So what a great read! Thank you.
So that we don't do floppies at all.
What's the price point on that then?
We do. It'll be $7.99 UK.
So what's that American at? Like $10?
Yeah,
American.
Yeah,
maybe $8.99. It'll be $8.99.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. $9.99. So
but they're
decent chunky books. So we've got that one coming out next. We've got another Brawler coming out as well. So we're just waiting for the final pages of artwork to come in from that. I can let you know. I'll give you an exclusive though that the Brawler 3, the Brawler 3 cover is by John Higgins.
What? Yeah. How did you land John Higgins?
Well, same as we land anybody. You ask him.
Everybody. Steve Tanner is a boss of pen. Like, yo, this is what I need you for. He coming to call like the Goodfellas.
So he's done a really, really cool cover for us. It's beautiful. But we haven't revealed that to anyone yet. So you're the first guys to know.
Oh my God!
So I hope that makes up for not being able to share who the other Jerry Anderson.
All right. So I'm gonna be bold then. Do you have a tease? Do you have any outline of the cover? Anything you could tease us? that you can bring up even on your phone?
That's a lot, doesn't it?
I don't. But you have to trust me. It's very, very good.
I do trust. It's time-bound comics, baby. It's about to blow up, baby. Hell yeah.
So we got a few things kind of lined up over the next few months. We've also got we're looking at we do like a bomb scares and horror anthology. We'll be looking at relaunching that. That might be this year, but if not, it'll be early next year. And at the moment, we're kind of putting together plans for 2024 because 2023 is already full. So we're kind of looking at 2024.
Whoa, look at you! Wow.
So we're kind of there's lots of stuff. When I sit down and kind of go through it, because sometimes I end up in a bit of a cold sweat because I just think, I can't believe all this stuff. But people seem very receptive to what we're doing. People seem to like what we kind of bringing out. So amazing. And of course we don't do superheroes. I mean, the one thing we don't touch superheroes at all. So none of our books are
fine.
Well, hold on, let me just destroy my script. I've just written down the script, so let me just get rid of that then.
But not for nothing. That's absolutely fine because you know what? As I've gotten, more mature, if you will, I say older, but I've actually appreciated a lot more slice of life storytelling. It's just been something that's been just a lot more effective for me. Like, oh wow, they really captured, a spirit here. They captured a soul. They did something here that I really connected with. I mean, that's so important nowadays. I mean, superheroes is fun and all to get away. But sometimes we need that slice of life. Like, here's a story of some regular Joe or Joette.
No, it's right. And I think, I love superheroes myself. I mean, I've got
me too.
Far too many superhero comics. And I think they're great. But I don't know. I mean, I think possibly because I grew up in the UK, whereas the homegrown comics, they weren't really. You wouldn't rarely get superheroes. It would always be.
Well, you're getting war comics, right? Romance. You're doing all that other stuff.
Romance, adventure, sport. So that's you wouldn't. I mean,
sport,
I think the only.
We did not have sport comics. I mean, who is it? Who we had? USA Pro, the football guy.
Yeah, remember? Yeah. Captain Britain's probably the only one that comes.
2000 AD had Zenith. Marvel had Captain Britain. And I think the only other one that
I love the original costume. I don't care.
Billy the Cat, perhaps.
Billy the Cat. Who's Billy the Cat?
What about Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future? Surely
I know Dan Dare. I'm aware of Dan Dare in the States,
especially the second one.
And the only other one would be King Cobra, which was which was in the Hotspur, which is DC Thompson, which is drawn by Ron Smith.
Cobra.
So that was a kind of superhero story.
Steve, Al doesn't believe me that we never got G.I. Joe over here.
I mean, how could you not get G.I. Joe? Look at that. I got toys on my sofa.
We had Action Man and we had Action Force. Battle Action Force was a comic that used to come out weekly, and it would be part Battle, like the weekly normal Battle, and then part Action Force, which would be the kind of G.I. Joes. So you get Snake Eyes and you get Cobra Commander and all that sort of stuff, but it was repackaged as Action Force for
Action Force. Hey, whatever, man. I want those figures if you can find them for me. I want an Action Force Cobra Commander and an Action Force Snake Eyes right now.
Oh, right now. All right, yeah. Start paying me a wage. I might get you one.
Hey, you're the machine. It's supposed to make it happen. It's about to do an elaborate Ocean 11 type thing for Almago.
All right, okay.
I know. Yeah, you call Steve and he'll get it done. I know Steve's slick too. Don't forget about it. Nah, but Steve, for real, man. I appreciate your time, and I really appreciate what you do. And thank you for both of you actually teaching me about that British stuff out there that I really need to get connected with because it sounds so badass. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah. I only heard of Thunderbirds, but you're telling me all this other, and then that name Terrorhawks, just the name alone.
Terrorhawks.
I am a villain guy. I mean, look at my tattoo. I love villain. I mean, that sounds like they sound like they're the most badass crew ever right now, and I need to add that tattoo onto my body somewhere.
Terrorhawks was class.
Terrorhawks, yeah. I mean, the thing is about Terrorhawks, a lot of people have said, have kind of spoke to me about Terrorhawks, and they said they found it a bit scary as well.
Zelda's face.
Oh,
So many people kind of said, "Oh, I found it really scary." So that's a good one to watch now.
Oh my god, bro, guys, thank you so much. My wife's gonna be asking me, why the fuck are you watching this? And leave me alone. It's research. For real, Steve, Johnny, both of you, thank you so much. So Steve, bro, I know I've been showing off this wonderful website, Time Bomb Comics. So what's up at Time Bomb Comics? What can I get my hands on at Time Bomb Comics? I'm about to just bring it up so we can review the site before we go, because I need people to support this in the States too. Again, this is the spirit of independent, and I love that. This is what Comic Crusaders is about, celebrating people like yourselves that are, doing things, and you've been doing it for a minute. And I feel sad that I wasn't aware earlier about you, Steve, to be honest. But God is good. We connected, and now you have this awesome website. Look at this, folks. Look at this website. Look at Brawler right there, what he was talking about. Holy shit! Look at that cover, yo. Who doesn't want something where some like a Conan looking dude is riding a T-Rex with like an M16? What's popping?
That's a cool cover. That's Stas Johnson did that one.
Oh my god! And it's such a 70s cover too. You see this, Johnny?
Yeah. I've seen the same.
Oh my god, yo! And then there goes Flintlock. Wow, look at that cover too. Jesus Christ! Bomb scares. You got your shop, your socials, submissions as you were talking about. So it's as easy as just going here, maximum 64 megabytes. So people know, especially in the UK, Europe, if they wanted us to submit, what is the criteria? What are you really looking for?
We're really looking for something. If it's a pitch of a story, we're looking for something which is a really good story that gets us excited. But our pitch requirements or our submission are dead easy, because all we want is 5 sequential pages. Whether it's 5 sequential pages of script, 5 sequential pages of art, 5 sequential pages of a comic that's been put together, it doesn't matter. We just need 5 pages. And if we get excited about what we see across those 5 pages, then we'll be in touch.
Oh, I mean, look at this. Bomb scares. Yo, is this like Frankenstein, Easter Bunny? I mean, I didn't even want to. Thank God no one's behind the Easter Bunny. I would have thought the worst right there based on his mouth. Defiant. Yo, look at this other cover. Whoa, to Brawler number 2. Whoa. I mean, look at these books, guys. Look at these covers. Dick Turpin and the Vengeful Shade. Yeah, yo. Look at that Harker. Got ragamuffins. Look at this beautiful website.
Back down, back up a little. There it is. There you go.
Right here.
Rotting
Katie's
under the
book.
Snow. Yeah, Katie's book. What
Look at that. Yeah, Katie was boss. Great interview, Johnny. You got to check it out, folks, on my side of the panels. Also on Comic Crusaders, well on YouTube. And on comiccrusaders.shop. But Harker, talk to me about that too, bro. I mean, how are you building these teams, man? For real. What's the secret? What's the secret to success for you running since 07 to now? What's the secret sauce, Steve?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of it is I saw it as a marathon rather than a sprint. And I think that's a really kind of so the growth has been organic and natural, rather than trying to release 10 books all too early and multiple series and this, that, and the other, and then it falling flat on your face. So for the first few years, we just literally just put out one book a year, just to kind of find our feet and build the audience. And as the audience built, as the audience grew, that's when we started kind of putting out more than one title per year. So the growth has been really steady. And I think that's a really key thing to do, rather than kind of,
don't go balls deep, right? Don't go balls deep. Don't just jump into it. Don't be swimming with sharks. Take your time. Swim with the goldfish. Take your time. You got this.
So that's it. And we also kind of obviously that we pay the creators for the work they do as well.
Thank you for that. Look at that. So, honesty, folks. He pays you, creators. Submit.
And I won't pretend that we pay our creators enough to get Lamborghinis and stuff. But
I can't get what about a Ferrari? Can I get a Ferrari without a Lambo?
but we give to anyone, if it's work for our any of our books where we own the IP, there's a page rate, which they get, and everyone gets part of a specific page rate, whether it's the writer, the artist, the color artist, the letterer. Everyone gets something there.
How do you figure that out, Steve?
We basically base it on you just kind of crunch the numbers, you know what I mean? Because the thing is, we know that we know how much of the books cost. We know what the printing cost will be, and we're at the stage now where we kind of know what our sell through will be. So so it kind of working back from that point. We got
the algorithm, baby.
Yeah. So that and the stuff like the stuff which is creator owned. What we do, we do a guarantee, a guaranteed lump sum payment on publication, but then also with uplifts, then depending on or pre-orders and post orders, that kind of stuff, and it seems to kind of work out, decently for those involved, or certainly those involved seem happy with it, and the fact that they come back to us again, and they're happy for us to kind of put more books out there with their names on it. And I think that's always kind of the indicator if the creators are happy. If the creators come back to you and said, yeah, well, I've got another idea now, what do you think? Or when I say, would you like to be involved in the next book?
Sorry,
say,
Steve.
Yeah, great.
I didn't want to take more of your time, but now you made me think of another question here. Now, for real, because again, you are a publisher in the UK. So how does printing work for you over there? Who do you even work with? How do you get this product out there? I mean, how did you even figure that out when you even started? To get these books out there.
Well, initially it was just conventions and through the website. I mean,
print on demand.
No. I mean, the first first book the first comic I produced, that one which was so bad. I mean, it was a local printer, and I got him to do 500 copies, in the hope that I would sell them. And I eventually sold them after 14 years. But
yeah, just last year, it was like my last copy. Finally, Jesus Christ!
But the thing is, has changed in that 15 years is the arrival of print on demand and digital printing. So it means now that if you wanted to get a print run of 100, 200, it's quite easily to do. So you can really manage your kind of print costs. Now, really, I mean, usually at the moment, our books on average now, our print runs tend to be between 2,000 and 3,000 per book as a first print, because we know now we can sell those through because we have things set in place. But 10 years ago it wasn't nowhere near that much, but again, it's that kind of growth, that organic growth. So wonderful. So anyone starting out, I would say, don't kind of print thousands of copies, just get 100 if need be, which is perfectly easy to do. Perfectly,
what, and it makes it an exclusive, especially with the speculator market. So they're gonna feel special owning it, and then when you do something else, on a different type of way, again, another reason to keep investing. But it's true, don't break the bank, folks. I love that advice. It's honest God's truth. Because now I'm happy to say that Comic Crusaders could fund itself, and it took me a while to do that because I have great people like Johnny, creating amazing content too. You know what I mean? So, but Steve, for real, bro, I just wanted to show off the website. I want to thank you again. Thank you for answering that question, because I was just curious what's popping in the UK, because the States is different. UK, it is what it is. Yeah, across the pond. I really wish that I could check out one of those comic. If I ever go with a comic mark with Johnny, I think that I probably spend my whole wallet, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to come back home.
Yeah, you're not living with me, dude.
Hey, you're not staying here. He already told me. You know what though? I'll be staying on the staircase then. No problem, John. I wake up in the morning. Can you give me some tea at least, bro?
Yeah. I've got 2 staircases. You're all right.
Which one, the front or the back? Okay, he offered the staircase, folks. What a man! What a gentleman! All right, but for real, with that, folks, please check out Steve and the website at Time Bomb Comics. As I just said it. If you can't spell that, then you have a problem. Time Bomb Comics. All right, TimebombComics.com. And that's the same for the socials. So check him out on Twitter, on Facebook. He's everywhere. You know, pimping his wares, the amazing books, the amazing titles, the amazing projects, and all this great stuff that, you know, thanks to them, Almega's Outflix and viewing time is about to get totally excelled after I move. Like, oh, wait a minute. Jesus Christ. Again, my wife may get upset, but I am doing research.
Go for it.
And Johnny being a good friend. Johnny being a good friend, like, F it, just do it. Don't you worry. I love it. Check out this website. Steve, you're the man. For real.
Cheers,
so I hope to see you soon in real life. But with that, folks, I need you to check my big homie out before I go, because Johnny uses the machine, has been killing it. He is a machine, just not just on reviews, but on podcasts. I need you to check him out on Outside the Panels, the Flintlock Crusade, No Price Podcast on undercovercapes.com. And then he got this other dope show with big old Butt Young and my homie 13 Crusader called Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the books maybe
the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are.
There you go. There you go. And you know, thank you, Steve, for just telling me that Johnny Hughes looks like the very typical comic book nerd from the UK. That's amazing. So now, and my comic books, now I know how my comic book guys are gonna look. And with that, Steve, thank you. Johnny, you rock. People, other than checking out my big homie there and Time Bomb, always check me out. The Real Almega everywhere on social, and of course, Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes everywhere. Hasta la próxima. Wepa!
Adios.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.